Kevin Bowen here. Don't forget to listen to The Fan now on 93.5 or 107.5 FM, and check out our latest coverage online at 1075thefan.com.
Starting to feel like football weather, baby. You got to love it. The month of September is here. We're back. Kevin's Corner. Kevin Bowen here. Chris Presley across the way. We are back on Kevin's Corner in studio. We are 6 days out from Beers with Bowen. We cannot wait. Again, September 8th. It's a Wednesday, 6:30 p.m., Bullseye Event Center. Let me dial up the menu, Chris.
Okay.
Little menu action here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. For $16, you're going to get 5 Bullseye crispy wings, a couple sliders, warm queso, salsa, and tortilla chips. That's pretty good. We're going to have some brews as well.
Oh, yeah.
For Beers with Bowen. And as always, it's interactive with our great grand prize this year, courtesy of Bullseye Event Group. They've got just an awesome tailgate scene there, and you would get 2 tickets to every single home game, plus 2 tickets to their tailgate for every single home game, their Colts VIP tailgate, plus 2 tickets to the home opener, the actual home opener. So actually you'd go to the game.
Yep.
So just an awesome, awesome prize pack. You can only win that if you're there in person. And come out, drink some beer with us, chat Colts. We've been looking forward to doing this in person for quite some time. So JMV will broadcast there from 3 to 6, and then we'll take over at 6:30.
Yeah, and they put a price tag on it of $1,500. But if you've been to the Bullseye Event Center, that is a very nice prize. I mean,
3 hours before kickoff opens up, and again, all you can eat, all you can drink. They've got red zone going on, all of that. It's the perfect spot within a pitching wedge of Lucas Oil Stadium.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You're literally looking right at the stadium. A lot of people go to, Buffalo Wild Wings and other things like that. This is the place to be, especially in Indianapolis, if you want to tailgate before a game.
A lot of you asked about parking. Guns N' Roses is going on to Lucas Oil next Wednesday as well, unfortunately. There is a $10 lot just behind Bullseye Event Group, but you enter off of McCarty in Illinois, kind of that entrance area there. But, if you guys, find some downtown spots that are a little bit away, hop on the Bird, hop on the
get the scooters.
Scooter action there, get an Uber down, and it'll be a great time. We hope people can tune in virtually if you can't make it, but obviously come in person. You got a chance to win the prize pack. So really looking forward to chatting with you guys there. We have a loaded podcast, a ton to get to, some Twitter questions as well. For those of you that, I don't know, maybe have lived under a rock and haven't heard me make the announcement, just one podcast a week throughout the football season, because I'm hosting the Fan Morning Show on our airways from 7 to 10 a.m. So that's kind of your daily Colts fix there. You can follow that podcast at the Fan Morning Show. But we'll still keep going here with Kevin's Corner because I love doing this. And let's get into it, man.
Yeah, real quick before we jump in, did you ever think you were going to open for Axl Rose?
No, I did not. Honestly, I think JMV is probably he won't be able to sleep on Tuesday night, knowing that he's kind of leading in, and then I'm gonna take over for JMV after that. So yeah, when I was told that they are gonna be at Lucas Oil, I was like, wow, that's that's like, hey, I'm gonna have the big party here in high school, and then the high school quarterback's like, oh no, I'm gonna have the party. And
yeah,
I'm like, okay,
parents are out of town. Let's go.
Exactly. Well, hopefully you guys will stop by for that, and I don't know, maybe a pregame at our party and head over to old Axel action afterwards.
Let's talk about the roster cuts. As we approach the first game of the year, this preseason is a little bit different, only 3 games. We've cut our roster down. What are some of the roster cuts that people might have been surprised about, or what are some of the things that people might also be surprised to have stayed on this roster?
Yeah, and we're recording this late Thursday morning, so the word fluid seems to be very appropriate for life right now, and I would say also for the Colts roster. We still expect T.Y. Hilton, Sam Ehlinger officially go to IR, Desmond Patman maybe with his foot injury. And again, those are 3 games missed. If you go to injured reserve, you got the COVID call-ups to happen. Carson Wentz, Zach Pascal, Ryan Kelly. We'll hit on those here in just a second. But roster cuts in general, the biggest name I think is Sean Davis, the rookie 5th-round pick. He's back on the practice squad. I wrote it in a couple notebooks. Like, I think he'll make it, but I'm only saying that because he's a 5th-round pick. So, I mean, that was my justification for, like, why he would make the roster. And also, your safety depth was terrible.
And didn't he start a game this preseason?
Maybe that last one. But he was banged up early on, and, like, they used Sasha Ray and TJ Carey at safety at times. Like, the dude did not deserve to make the team, but I just frankly thought, who else? Which, again, is not a ringing endorsement at all. Huge numbers kept at defensive line. Huge numbers kept at defensive tackle. Big. And, Ballard loves defensive tackle depth, defensive line depth. And, he said with us yesterday, basically that, early in the season, he doesn't want to be, a number short there. And that's, part of just kind of Ballard's MO. I still can't see, them rolling with 11 defensive linemen throughout the entire season. I just don't think that's possible. How are those guys going to play on special teams? It's just going to be a numbers crunch. But the practice squad helps you out, when you can protect guys over there. Dayo Odeyingbo out 6 weeks of practice, out 8 weeks of games. No surprise there. Marvell Tell didn't do a whole lot. And clearly, I think back to the spring, we see these waiver claims the Colts have made, Chris. I asked Chris, all right, one position that keeps you up at night, that you don't love your depth. He said corner. Where were their 2 waiver claims? Corner.
Yep.
Has never loved that group. I think the depth there. When you look at that position with those guys, Chris, we've talked about this, I think, early in the offseason. You need someone to emerge with Kenny Moore. Who's the future at corner?
Yeah, because Rhodes is leaving.
Rhodes is up there in age and is in a contract year. Like, you need someone to ride things out with Kenny Moore. And also think about Kenny Moore as a body type. He's more of that slot corner. He's the aberration to body types at that corner spot. You look at the 2 guys they claim, long, good testing numbers, fit much more of a prototype that the Colts want at that position. So they're going to churn it there. And obviously Rocky Sin has not submitted himself. Marvell Tell just got cut. Isaiah Rodgers, as much as you're kind of intrigued, I mean, still a 6th-round pick. TJ Carey's not getting any younger. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they went that route. As of now, we haven't seen any guys claimed elsewhere. Usually that's an indicator of what the NFL thinks of your roster. I don't know if that's a great endorsement of how the NFL views their roster. Granted, when you start to make some COVID moves, bump Pascal, Kelly, Wentz back up, you're going to have to cut some guys.
Mm-hmm.
Does that open up, some guys getting claimed other spots? We'll obviously watch that. But, so yeah, those are just kind of my overview. Nothing too stunning. I think I was like, I got 2 or 3 wrong, something like that with roster cuts. Didn't have that many defensive tackles. Didn't have Sean Davis getting cut. So yeah, that's wideout wise. You're going to keep all of them. Strawn, Patman, Doolin. You've got room for them right now, and you've got some injuries. We'll see how long Patman's there, and you'll ease Strawn along. And we've always said Doolin's special teams presence means too much. And frankly, the T.Y. Hilton injury, Doolin kind of has a similar all set as well. I love the Kiki Kuti practice squad move. I'm a huge fan of that because that's kind of what the practice squad's about. Just, all right, guy didn't work out in Houston, super injury prone. Now, some might say, well, Kevin, what makes you think he'll come to Indianapolis and stop getting hurt? Who knows? You never know. Your new nutritional approach, I don't know. Was the Houston Heat impacting Kiki's, hamstrings? Who knows? But the guy's
he was a Colts killer. Yeah, he was.
Dude, played like 20-some games in the NFL. He's got 300-yard games against the Colts.
Yeah.
And he's a 4th-round pick. It's not like this is just, that's a decent draft selection there. So proven depth at wideout worries me a little bit right now. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, let's stay there with the wideouts because clearly Hilton is injured.
Yes.
What do you know about that? How long should he be out? What are you suspecting?
Yeah, so surgery for T.Y. earlier this week. When you hear disc, man, it just it just worries you. We had Will Carroll on the morning show earlier in the week, and he talked about how he heard early kind of Manning vibes of fusion and things like that. And now Peyton played through some injections and things before the outright fusion, but that's something to keep an eye on. Hilton started to feel some stuff during camp. Was it veteran rest days? Who knows? But he caught a deep ball the final day at Grand Park.
Mm-hmm.
went down. Him and Michael Pittman did a little jump and bump. It was a great catch, deep ball for a touchdown. It kind of looked like if you or I were to do a jump and bump, just kind of like, oh, wow, they're not getting very high, It's one of those things where it's like the freshman scores. Like if Notre Dame was a freshman score against Florida State, like that jump and bump will be like, the vertical will be the highest that kids ever had. It looked a little, oh boy, Phil Mickelson just won the Masters.
So you feel like like Grammatica? Did it happen on
It wasn't Grammatica. I am inferring that T.Y. I think was feeling a little banged up, but Pittman came over to do it, and he's like, well, I got to try and do it. And then T.Y. was on the ground for a couple minutes, put his helmet back on, looked fine, but some discomfort on the flight and to Detroit. I mean, why the hell is he even flying to Detroit if he's got neck issues? Like that is like, what? That makes no sense. So we'll see. I expect Hilton to miss time, certainly. At least 3 games, obviously, on IR. And what worries me here, Chris, is we go back to what we talked about in March. I've mentioned it several times that it was a mistake not finding kind of a proven pass rusher. Now, Kwity Paye is certainly trying to silence that.
Yeah.
And has done a great job of it. I also really wanted the Colts to tap into that free agent market at wideout. Because remember, there are a couple tiers to the wideouts. Yeah, you have the Galladay tier and Juju and I'm trying to think who else were kind of those top tier wideouts. T.Y., I guess you could maybe even throw into that mix. I don't know if you call Will Fuller one. But then you kind of had a second tier, the Corey Davises, the Josh Reynolds in that second tier. That's the tier I was hoping the Colts would go and tap into because you've got Hilton in a contract year, Pascal in a contract year. You got Hilton at the age that he's at. You clearly didn't love Hilton enough to give him the initial deal that he thought he deserved. Jim Irsay had to come in and sweeten it. So you had skepticism about T.Y. to begin with. We know Paris Campbell's injury history. I just think you need insurance. And I know everyone's enamored with Strawn and curious about Patman. It's just like, yes, but they haven't played football in years, several years. So you can't just expect them to be running in there and, good to go. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But I just thought from an insurance standpoint, that was a mistake.
Yeah, and it sounds like Zach Wilson's really liking Corey Davis out there with the Jets right now.
Let me fire off this tweet. The Colts just activated the 3 guys from the COVID list.
Okay.
So give me
which is a great transition because once you get finished with that, I do want to jump in, and I know a lot of our listeners will kind of want to know about the COVID list because there's a good amount of people that are on that right now, including Carson Wentz. So once you're finished with that, let's talk about that topic.
Yeah, so close contacts is the report there. Gosh, this actually works out really well. So they promoted these 3 guys. Well, I guess it depends on who you're asking if it works out well. And then they placed the 3 that we just mentioned on injured reserve.
Okay.
So, voila, there's your 53.
There you go.
Yeah, let me fire this off real fast. Man, that's unfortunate about Patman. So he got hurt in that preseason finale.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I know we just talked about how Patman and Strawn, you can't be too enamored with them because they are a 6th and a 7th round pick, but they're still big body types and they show potential. And and especially Patman towards the end of that preseason, he started to get a lot more touches, so we will see what happens with him.
All right, that tweet is now sent.
You guys are getting a little peek behind the curtain here.
Right.
Kevin Bowen is a busy man, morning show, covering the Colts, doing podcasts, doing everything.
So you guys will obviously realize this by the time you listen to it, but that's obviously good that, Wentz, Kelly, and Pascal can all practice today because you don't practice again until Monday.
Right.
So very important to get those guys on the practice field. And then Ellinger, Hilton, Patman, IR. Again, those guys must miss at least 3 games. Okay, COVID front, that's where I want to go to next.
Yeah, let's talk about Carson. Well, you just mentioned Wentz, but let's also talk about the COVID because everything is fluid was a great word that you used earlier.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts, especially now that it seems like and we're not going to get political on this podcast, but it seems like things are starting to ramp back up and you have to do contact tracing and things of that nature. What's going on the COVID front with the Colts? Because apparently not as many Colts people or not as many Colts players are vaccinated, this, that, and the other. You can speak to that more than I can.
Yeah, and we had Zach Kiefer on the morning show today, and he said that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but some frontline guys could be in the process of getting vaccinated now moving forward. Now, of course, it's not like you get vaccinated tomorrow and you're good. This is a long process, over a month or so. So, and we talked about that through camp. Guys like Michael Pittman, Sam Ellinger, Mike Strawn, I think some of those guys that got the shots, plural. But again, they still have to adhere to the other protocols until camp or until they're fully vaxxed. The biggest issue for the Colts, and this is by no means a debate about should you be vaccinated or should you not. This is simply of if you are unvaccinated, you are susceptible to being a close contact. If you are vaccinated, you cannot be a close contact by NFL rules. That means if you're a close contact, as Carson Wentz, as Ryan Kelly, as Zach Pascal were, someone tests positive inside that building. Mm-hmm. They got too close with their Connexon tracer, which is, I believe it's like for 15 minutes you're within 6 feet. They have to be out for 5 days. Same with Nelson late last week. That's because those guys, again, are unvaccinated. So that can happen at any point, and that is the uncertainty and the lack of reliability that you're going to have to live with these guys. And it could be all season long if they choose not to get vaccinated. And so I think that is what is frustrating fans the most. It's that we can sit here and say COVID is out of your control, but this particular rule is not out of your control. If you are vaccinated, you don't fall into the close contact. The only way you have to miss time is if you test positive for COVID-19, which obviously can still happen if you're vaccinated. We've seen that with Frank Reich. We've seen it with Matt Eberflus. But the close contact game would not exist, does not exist for vaccinated players. I've said this on the morning show all week long. Carson Wentz choosing to not be vaccinated, that dude needs to play the close contact game. And by that I mean this. If he's getting rehab on his foot, and I've used up all my Rex Ryan jokes, so I'll stop. But no one can be touching his foot or doing whatever for more than 15 minutes. And I mean this in all seriousness. If you're Chris Presley and you're the rehab specialist, you get 10 minutes with Wentz, and it's time to move on. You cannot have him around people for longer than 10 minutes. When he's in the quarterback meeting room, he's not within 6 feet of Jacob or Sam or Brett Hundley or Scott Milanovic. When you're out to offense, you're on the practice field, obviously that's a little bit more out of your control. But when you can get in the controlled settings, you do not have him exposed to anybody, because this is the reality of where you're at. You can get to a Friday and Mrs. Wentz can test positive and Carson's out for the game. It happened with Jonathan Taylor last year, him being a close contact.
Right.
Now, obviously, that was pre-vaccines, but again, if he was vaccinated, and same goes for Kelly and Pascal or Nelson last week, they wouldn't have had to isolate. They would have to daily test, but they wouldn't have to isolate. They could still participate in practice. All of that. So those are the rules that we have to confront. And Carson's missing 2 out of 3 practices this week. I mean, these are big practices. Let's not act like it's dink and dunk in your day, your way around a Saturday walkthrough before a Sunday game. This is the last week to have good on good, live 11 on 11, where he needs to take the next step in his rehab. Will he still play week 1? Yes, I think definitely. But it comes back to the question we've talked about. It's not will he be out there. It's what will he look like when he's out there, because he's missed so much valuable practice time. When you get to next week, Darius Leonard can't be seeing Carson Wentz in the practice field. Darius Leonard needs to see, who knows who their scout team quarterback will be. Maybe they'll have Hundley. Mm-hmm. Brett Hundley act like Russell Wilson. Well, that means Carson Wentz has got to go see, Cameron Klein on the D-line and not Carlos Dunn. It's just, it has to be scout team. So, Craig asked this question. I took it out of Twitter questions. I threw it in here. Craig goes, does this Wentz news, do you consider this to be a lack of leadership on his part to put his team at risk? Clearly, Carson, personal beliefs, religious beliefs, whatever, he's chosen not to get vaccinated. When we talk about quarterbacks in the NFL, we talk about them on a pedestal, rightly or wrongly, but that position is viewed unlike any other in professional sports. And I oftentimes scoff at people that tell me that Andrew Luck needs to be in the Hall of Fame or the Ring of Honor, and I'm like, wait, what? The dude played 6 years in the NFL. Like, in no way, shape, or form did he amass a career that deserves to be among greats.
Right.
Now, some might say Jim Harbaugh's in the Colts Ring of Honor, whatever, but I think the Ring of Honor standard has changed, thankfully.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh was the bookend to start.
Yeah.
The Colts coming back. Andrew Luck walked out on your team.
Yeah, a little bit different there. So, what I'm getting at is we hold players at that position to very high standards.
Mm-hmm.
The money, the fame, all of that comes with it, and the leadership element. And again, putting the whole personal beliefs, whatever aside, if you're talking about Carson Wentz as a leader of a football team, he's not doing everything he can to be that peak leader. He's not. And again, right or wrong, easily people can sit here and say, hey, he cares more about his health and he's choosing not to, whatever. And again, you can get in the vaccine argument if you want to get into it. I won't. And sit here and say, hey, that's fine. Carson is doing this for his family or for his religious beliefs, whatever. But if you're talking about him in the football sense, he is failing the Colts as a leader because you will operate every week this season until he decides to get vaccinated, if he does, with the notion that it's out of your control if Carson Wentz plays or Sunday or not. You really won't know until Carson Wentz gets to the stadium if he's going to play or not. And that is... Whew.
That is...
That's life, man. But, I just don't spew like team. I'll do anything to help this team win. And when you're talking about the construction of the football team, it's a selfish move. Now, it's his own personal health, so do with it what you want to do with it. But when you're talking about the football team and in a league defined by parity and every team is so close, the Colts are at a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, John Lynch, I know, had the quote, like, look at what's happening in Northern California, look what's happening in Indianapolis. I mean, the Colts are, laughing stock might be too harsh, but like, they are at a disadvantage when it comes to this. We'll see if it changes. We'll see if it evolves moving forward. There you go.
Yeah, and as all you guys know who listen to this podcast, if you're not local in Indianapolis, you can go to 1075thefan.com to read all of Kevin's blogs that he still puts up. Carson Wentz and other things like roster cuts are up there right now. And if you do not want to listen to the podcast but want to listen to Kevin Bowen in the mornings, you can hear him on 1075thefan.com. If you go to our streaming section, he is on from 7 to 10 Eastern?
7 to 10. Yep, 7 to 10 a.m. And we're on YouTube live every morning as well. And
oh, beautiful. They get to see your beautiful face.
Yeah, something like that. I'll just rock a hat and probably scruff that needs to be shaved. That always sounds weird to me. And yeah, podcast, Fan Morning Show. Talked about that as well. So appreciate you plugging that.
Absolutely. Let's jump into Twitter questions. We have a few. We don't have as much as normal, but we're jumping right into this first game of the season. I know we have a 2-week layoff, as you mentioned. Kind of good for the COVID and the injury aspect. But let's start with a question from Ben. Hey, KB, are the 2 7th-round corners really better than Marvell Tell? Also, we have 3 safeties on the roster. Andre Sachare, which I call charcuterie because that's just what it looks like to me, could play safety. That cut was a bit puzzling to me.
I'm glad you said the COVID. One of my favorite lines that my mom has uttered throughout the last year and a half is, damn the COVID. She always says that to me. Damn the COVID, Kevin. And I'm like, gosh, that's so true. I think we all can probably agree on that one. Not there's not much we can agree on, but I think we're all on the same page
I
there.
think we are, yes.
Okay. Corners. Why them?
Mm-hmm.
Length, body types. We go back there, and I think they're kind of trial and error a little bit. Marvell Tell got the scissors. Boy, I know they're on the bubble to begin with, but we heard Jim Irsay's comments about the opt-out guys. They didn't make it very far. Roland Milligan, Sky Moore, and Marvell Tell. Sachare, that was puzzling. It took me a while to pronounce his name. I hope that's right. I don't even know if it is. You need versatile guys. Maybe he'll clear waivers today and come back onto your practice squad. Then you promote him later in the week. Who knows? But Yeah, I felt like given the lack of safety depth you have, right now you only have 3 safeties. Now, I think TJ Carey would play safety in a pinch for you, but I thought he deserved it. And boy, was his wife vocal yesterday on Twitter. I think she went back and deleted a few of them. But
I didn't see that.
Yeah, she didn't hold back. She did not hold back. And someone tweeted at me like, man, is this really how they cut players in the NFL? Like, find me the person that's been fired in a polite way, and I'll buy you a 6-pack of beer coming from someone that's been fired.
It's not you, it's me.
Right. So, yeah, that's yeah.
This next one comes from Jason. Chris Ballard is forced to take truth serum. When asked what position or player he's most concerned about right now, his answer would be what?
I do want to just chime in really quickly on the close contacts thing.
Okay.
Some people are confused. These guys went on the list, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. How are they already back? Your close contact is when you were first exposed to that person.
Okay.
Or I guess exposed to the point where you are considered a close contact. So I think that happened over the weekend. That's why they're back a little bit quicker. Okay. Jason wants to say true serum. Which position does Ballard not feel great about?
And you mentioned earlier, cornerback, right?
Corner. And, yes, corner. That is my answer. And I talked about it back in the spring. I still stand by what I said earlier in the offseason about Frank Reich's belief in Carson Wentz is 99%, and I think Chris Ballard's belief is 85. Which, whatever, that's fine. Not everybody has to be on the same page, but, and then, of course, you can counter with what else are we going to do at quarterback? Fair. Again, I was always pro trade up Justin Fields, but that was just me knowing full well that it would have taken a lot to execute something like that. But, yeah, that's... Yeah, what else? God, you got to think offensive tackle, but who knows? Certainly he loves his defensive line. Maybe safeties if you're going to nitpick as well. So that's a good question, Jason.
This next one comes from Mitch. I love T.Y. Hilton. I do, but am I crazy for thinking that we have the wide receiver talent to compensate?
Okay, Mitch, good question here. Someone mentioned to me, I think the fanfare of T.Y. has outweighed how we view his production. I think that's kind of a good, I think we have kind of, to be fair, I think we do that with so many athletes. We get to a point now where, and if you ask Maddie Bowen right now, who is T.Y. Hilton, one of the Colts' 3 or 4 best players, she would say yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, sorry, Mads, and nothing against your sports knowledge. I think it's at a level that I love. We got a big Notre Dame game Sunday night, by the way, Maddie. Come on, baby, in Tallahassee Sunday night. Let's let Rosie stay up for the first quarter.
Do you know who plays tonight?
Experience a chop. Are your Vols aren't playing tonight?
We're playing tonight, baby.
Wow.
Bowling Green coming into Rocky Top.
I didn't know SEC teams played on a Thursday.
35-point spread. Go ahead and put Bowling Green down to cover 35.5.
Spoken like a true Tennessee fan. Mitch, with T.Y., I come back to the word moments. Critical moments. Houston game last year, 2nd and 20. 2 minutes to go in the game. You're borderline field goal range. Rivers has the you-know-what to throw one down the seam, and T.Y. comes down with it.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Pittman has yet to do that in the NFL. Paris Campbell's yet to do that in the NFL. Zach Pascal can do it as a number 3 or 4. Can he do it as a number 1 or 2? That is where, playing time-wise, T.Y.'s playing time has dwindled big time. I mean, last year, I don't think he played more than 70% of the snaps in the final 2 months of the year. So, he wouldn't be out there often, but again, you turn to him in big-time moments. That now is gone for a chunk of time. Who steps up into that role?
Mm-hmm.
That is the next question there. So, it's the timely plays with the Colts not having proven wideouts, not at that top-flight level. Pittman has shown us stuff. Campbell's shown us a little stuff. Pascal has certainly done it. But again, at that peak level that Hilton has commanded, well-deserved, over the course of his career. And then the other thing, Mitch, is just insurance. It's growing thin. What happens when Campbell gets hurt? Now all of a sudden it's Pascal, Pittman, and then dudes that haven't much playing time in the NFL is like you or I. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think some of the concern comes into play. But I drafted Michael Pittman last night in my fantasy league. Hell yeah. I mean, if you can stay healthy and these guys can prove that the stage isn't too big for them week in and week out, you've got some guys. But the insurance is thin. And when you're down 4 and Carson Wentz walks onto the field with 3:48 to go in the game, who's been there before.
Yeah. And to that, just a little teaser. Stay tuned to the end of this podcast because we will have some updates on our Kevin's Corner fantasy.
Yes.
Update.
Thank you for that tease. Great tease.
This one comes from Colton. When is a realistic timetable for Eric Fisher to return?
Well, Fisher, again, I think he needs a couple weeks of practice before he's ready to go. And Fisher has tested positive for COVID-19, by the way. He's not, a close contact. So, him being isolated, that's a big bummer, dude, because, he needs practice. He needs physical reps. I don't think, Eric Fisher's dialing up YouTube and doing a 30-minute cardio workout and calling it a day. So, I would say late September at the earliest with him. Again, I think it's multiple weeks. And, Dayo Adangbo, pup, 8 weeks for game action. 6 weeks practice.
You think Dayo comes back this year?
I do. Yeah, if he has any sort of setback, certainly, you would hold him out. But, yeah, I think it's a long season. You're playing 17 games. You could play some playoffs as well. Yeah, I think as long as things check out, you slowly bring him back.
Okay. We're going to stick there with Eric Fisher still here with a question from Brian. He wants to know about Carson Wentz, Eric Fisher, Quentin Nelson, and Ryan Kelly. With the whole COVID list, does it make it easier from a media perspective to have you guys away from them in case there is an injury setback?
Yeah, Brian, I'm not 100% sure where you're going with this one. I'll just kind of talk in generalities here. We watch 25 minutes of practice. 25. For the most part, you see everybody that's practicing. You can have guys that are inside the locker room, and then they come out, once the media leaves, and they'll show up on the injury report as limited, something like that. But, frankly, you can hide anything. If you really want to, you can put, Carson Wentz behind a whatever in the indoor facility. We watch outside, and then all of a sudden Carson Wentz can come outside when we go inside for the day. We don't get the same training camp access. So
yeah,
you can hide whatever you want. We got to go off the injury report and what we do see in the 25 minutes we watch practice now.
Let's jump to a question from Colts fan in PA. He lives in the middle. Well, I say he, could be a she, lives in the middle of Steeler country.
There you go.
So your podcast keeps them up to date on all of their Colts news.
I love that. Speaking of Steeler country, I was at my brother's wedding this past weekend, all right? And I look over, and next thing you know, the DJ's got a sweat rag and waving it like a terrible towel.
Nope. Can't do it.
Oh, yep. It was incredible. The energy was, I thought it could light up Las Vegas. It was just awesome. Shout out to Ryan Bowe and Kristen Krimp. Finally, we get the chance to properly celebrate them. Beautiful time down there. That DJ, it was electric.
That's awesome.
Electric.
Joey would have been proud.
Yes. Definitely would have.
But anyway, back to the question and congrats again to Ryan. Back to the question. So, wondering what's the record the Colts have with T.Y. Hilton playing? Obviously, he goes by the Ghost. But is he also a ghost in terms of the hidden factor for the Colts winning games?
Well, shit, yeah. What's the record? 1-10, I believe it is. Now, he only missed one game last year, and then missed a lot of games in that 2019 season. He had those different lower body injuries. So, obviously, I never looked at you're building your offense around T.Y. Jonathan Taylor's here for a reason. I expect him to have a big season, and from a target standpoint, I didn't even think T.Y. would be, I don't know, maybe not even the top 2 targeted wideout this year. But with this schedule, close games, I still think he matters. I still think it is a loss. I don't think it's 1-10 crazy loss, but let's see how it unfolds.
Do you think, and this is a question from Tanner, we're going to stay with T.Y. Hilton for just another minute. T.Y.'s close to the 10,000-yard mark. It would be him, Reggie, and Marvin.
Right.
Do you think he still gets there with this injury setback right now?
Man, you hope. Do you know how many career yards he has?
I don't. I can look it up for you real quick.
I want to say it's definitely less than 1,000. I want to say it's like 600, 700, something around there. So, or 600, 700 away from 10,000. When you hear a neck, that's just a little worrisome to me.
He has 9,360 yards.
9,360.
Yep.
So, yeah, 640, right?
Mm-hmm.
640 away from 10,000. So, if healthy, he should get that in a year. Gosh, it's hard, Tanner. I hope, and I think he will, but predicting injuries is impossible. That's number one rule of Kevin's Corner, probably. Predicting neck injuries, even more impossible.
Yeah. Sticking on the outside of the numbers with the wide receiver core, Indy 4 Life. Hey, KB, can you tell me why everyone loves Mike Strawn when Desmond Patman has shown more during the games?
That's a good question. I'm trying to respond to someone on Twitter. I should stop multitasking.
Oh, good, man.
Okay, Strawn, Patman, games, practice.
Yep.
Strawn, first, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want flash or do you want steady? Flash, Strawn, steady, Patman. Now, Patman hurt right now, so there you go. A fifth wideout is not playing 40 snaps a game. And frankly, Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell and Zach Pascal, I don't want to take snaps away from them. Like, to me, Desmond Patman doesn't necessarily need or deserve 30 or 40 snaps a game. That might sound harsh, but like, you give him snaps, you take away snaps from someone. Michael Pittman, I went on the football field for 95% of the snaps. Paris Campbell, if healthy, same thing. Strawn, he's more the sprinkler. He's more of the, all right, let's see if he can catch a back shoulder 50-50 ball. Patman's more the possession guy. Mm-hmm. So that's where, and I also think, to your point, like, people like the highlights, and Strawn has shown the highlights. That's part of it too. But I frankly think if you're trying to go win a game week 1, I'm going to involve Strawn a little bit more than I'm going to involve Patman. It might not all be pretty, but, if I throw 2 balls to him in the red zone, he comes down with 1, we can celebrate in the locker room. Patman, I think he's got to be more of a 30 or 40 snap guy to really feel it.
I love the, sticking with Strawn just for a second, the video the Colts posted this week of Granson running out of the tunnel in Detroit with Strawn, and they're booing, and he's like, "Are they booing us?" He's like, "We're just here to do a job. Could you imagine if the plumber comes over and you just boo the electrician or the plumber coming into your house?"
Boy, it sounds like Bryson DeChambeau, Brooksy comments there.
This one comes from Raj. He wants to know, with T.Y. Hilton being out, who is Carson Wentz's preferred wide receiver to throw to?
Well, part of me is kind of like, was T.Y. even his preferred? I know that people were like, instant connection. They were on the same page. I think I added up. Carson threw like 60-some passes and 7-on-7, 4 to Hilton. Like, let's not get carried away with, who he's thrown to. Frankly, he's probably thrown to Michael Pittman more than anybody. Think about all the stuff they did in the offseason together. Didn't Carson go out to California and throw with Pittman and Patman pretty early on? I don't even think the trade was official at that point. So, yeah, I honestly, Pittman. And I thought I would have answered that before this Hilton news.
Well, Raj has a follow-up question. Kevin, how are you not verified on Twitter?
Dude, Twitter was, oh, yeah. Yeah, the old Twitter sphere. It's like you got a better chance of getting a job at the FBI than you do trying to get verified on Twitter. I lost it when I had to change my Twitter handle after getting fired by the Colts. K-Bone Colts to K-Bone 1070, and now I guess I've changed it again. Now 1070's been changed. So, yeah, Raj, I got nothing for you there.
We're verified in your ears, Raj. That's all that matters. This podcast is verified.
Yeah, thank you. Something like that.
From JJ, enjoyed watching Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. They had a myriad of moves: power rush, go left, go right, go under, the stunts, and so on. Kwity Paye seems to have the same skill and energy. What have you seen during the preseason and during practices?
Yeah, Kwity Paye, boy, how are you not excited? That was probably the biggest question coming out, Chris. It's just like, does he have another move? Does he have counters? The bull and speed, it's so enticing because he's this great testing athlete, but man, he's just stronger than you know what, and you feel like he can combine that into some that tackle sitting on the outside rush, boom, you hit him inside, boom, you hit him with the power, and maybe you don't get there, but you disrupt that edge. So yeah, I have seen a little bit, but that's definitely something that still needs to grow.
Yeah, and again, preseason you're going up against, you never know who could be a second string guy, third string guy. I was very impressed with the way he played against the Lions, and looking forward to seeing what he can do for the rest of this year and his career here with the Horseshoe. We have 3 more questions. This one comes from Rob. Wants to know how players can justify consuming things like Toradol and other painkillers, but then also won't take the vaccine.
Yeah, Rob, this is a question that I've certainly heard. And, obviously each player, I don't think like Toradol is getting passed around to every player in that locker room like it's candy. I don't think every player is just taking whatever. There's been talks about, was this something that pushed Andrew Luck out, things like that. So, to be fair to your point, Rob, I think what is interesting to me, and I asked Chris Ballard this question right before camp started, like, why do you think the Colts are on the low end compared to the rest of the NFL? That's frankly, it's just kind of a fascinating question to me of like, why are the Colts one of the outliers compared to the rest of the league? I think the rest of the league's 93% I saw vaccinated, which is obviously a massive number compared to society. And then the Colts are like, 75 or something like that. So I'm just curious, frankly, because I think you look at NFL players or any professional athletes, I think about this watching the people in the freaking Olympics, and it's like the sacrifices you've made to get to that level are just absurd. Time, family, body, all those things. So to me, and again, my opinion, frankly, I look at the vaccine thinking to myself, wow, that's really the difference? Like that, especially if you're a fringe roster player. Like that's the difference because Urban Meyer was dead on. Hell yeah, it's going to impact if you make the team or not. Like how does it not? It's availability. Like if you're a fringe roster player, rightly or wrongly, you're running a company, you're running a business. You're going to factor that in. So yeah, Rob, I don't know. I mean, obviously the Toradol thing is a little bit of a different animal. I don't know if I'll go fully there, but I come back to the more of just the pure sacrifices. And it could very well have cost some players their jobs and maybe their life in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's fair to ask it.
Well, Jaden has a fair to ask question because it wouldn't be a Kevin's Corner podcast if we didn't mention an Andrew Luck question.
Oh, boy. Is he throwing to people in Utah or wherever? What was he throwing to high school?
I think like
kids
6th graders out in Denver or something like that.
Yeah, quite the outfit for old Andrew.
The zip-off khakis, right?
You're right.
What if Andrew Luck wants to come back? Would you trade Carson Wentz and roll with Luck, or would you trade Luck and go with Wentz?
Dude, I already need a beer after co-hosting with Greg Doyle. Don't make me go for something else. Sure, give him a call. Is he vaccinated? Does that matter? Yeah, I would. I'd take Andrew Luck over Carson Wentz. But I mean, shit, Jaden, it's an impossible question. Possible. I gotta sit down with Andrew for 24 hours and be like, dude, if you retire, I will. I'll use a Tiger Woods wife 8-iron and just come to your house and just whatever.
All right, our last Twitter question for today's podcast comes from Conroy. Let's say the doctors clear Wentz for week 1. Do you think Frank Reich goes ahead and plays him, or does he sit him for a game or two, knowing that there's still 17 games this season?
Play him. I mean, if doctors clear him, yeah. Doctors clear him, play him. I mean, he's 11 on 11 today, 11 on 11 Monday, 3 practices next week. That is enough time for this guy. I mean, the foot, I was in awe at times watching how violently he moved at Grand Park. As long as that's the same way, yeah, play him. You gotta play him. No. Games are too precious. The schedule's too tough. You play him, unless he's had some setback.
I'm going to throw out a conspiracy theory that I'm sure you heard.
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
There was a conspiracy theory online saying that he didn't really hurt his foot. He actually just had COVID.
So the Colts then lied and broke NFL rules by not putting him on the COVID list?
I'm just throwing out a theory to you. You're the expert.
Yeah. No, I'm all for hearing theories. I'm also all for debunking theories that I feel like are idiotic, and that is quite the yeah. So he tested positive, okay. So he's out for those weeks, and then he just was a close contact again. So he's gotten COVID twice, or he's I don't know if the antibodies all of a sudden absolve you from being in a close contact, or I heard one of my colleagues yesterday at practice kind of made me laugh. Like they just need to get him a shot for his foot and tell him it's a shot for his foot and just put the vaccine in it.
Just put it in there.
Why not? Maybe the same doctor that shot up Tyrod Taylor last year and got Justin Herbert.
Oh gosh.
onto the old pitch. So, yeah, obviously I'm joking about that stuff. Okay, Fantasy League.
Yes, so fantasy, what we're going to do,
We have the Pick'em League, right?
we will have a Pick'em League. That will be through CBSSports.com.
Will you tweet out that link
Yes.
this coming week, and I will retweet that? That's open to anybody.
That's open to anybody. And I think last year we had around 50 people who signed up. It was an awesome league. It's week-to-week basis, so it goes through it's not a pick 'em in terms of if you lose week 1, you're done. It's one of those where you pick every winner, straight up, no spread. We go on throughout the entire season. Fantasy league-wise, though, we will do this through ESPN.com. We're going to have a draft next Tuesday at 7 p.m. The first 12 people who DM me will be in that league. Now, I understand that a lot of people have been reaching out. If you do not make it in that league, again, I will tweet out the CBSSports.com Pick'em League. Do not come at me under fire because I know everyone's going to come fast and heavy. That being said, so that's going to be Tuesday at 7 p.m. Wednesday on the 8th, we have Beers with Bowen. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, Kevin?
Yes, 6:30 again. Check out our event page. You can RSVP there. If you guys have any questions for me or Chris on that event, just let us know. There'll be food available. Mentioned that buffet menu earlier, and drinks available, of course. And it's just a fun night to chat, 72, 96 hours before the season opener, the night before the NFL season opener as well. So come on out. It'll be a fun time, and hopefully it's great weather and everything. And Bullseye Event Center is an awesome, awesome venue.
Yeah, and as of now, we have around 70 people that have already RSVP'd. Again, you don't have to RSVP, but if you go to 1075thefan.com and RSVP, that gives us a little bit more of a number of who's going to be there. Can't wait to see you guys in person. Looking forward to the season.
But you do have to be there to win the grand prize.
Yes, you do.
And that's, again, the Colts VIP tailgates tickets and then the 2 tickets to the season opener against the Seahawks. He's Chris Presley. I'm Kevin Bowen. Everybody have a great weekend, great Labor Day. We'll see you Wednesday. Beers with Bowen. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.